an urgent warning for every American firearms owner. A dangerous precedent is being set in Minnesota, one that will directly threaten your Second Amendment rights and potentially your financial future. Governor Tim Walz has issued 2 executive orders, numbers 2512 and 2513, under the guise of gun violence prevention. Do not be fooled. These are not mere suggestions. They are strategic maneuvers to erode your constitutional protections and pave the way for sweeping gun control. This is not about public safety. It is about political control. Let's dissect Executive Order 2512, the primary directive targeting gun policy and owners. Governor Walz, unable to force his agenda through the legislature, has resorted to executive power, bypassing the will of the people and the legislative process. His stated intent is to push for a ban on so-called assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, a policy objective he failed to achieve through democratic means. This executive order is the opening salvo in that campaign, laying the groundwork for future legislative attacks. The order contains 3 critical components, each a step closer to violating your rights. 1. Extreme Risk Protection Orders, or ERPOs, often called red flag laws. Minnesota already enacted a red flag law in 2024. This executive order instructs the Department of Public Safety to develop guidance and best practices for law enforcement, judges, and mental health professionals to issue more ERPOs. It also mandates the publication of ERPO data by county. This is a clear directive to increase the number of these orders, expanding the state's administrative focus on how red flag laws are used, and weaponizing mental health professionals against firearms owners. Furthermore, the governor is launching multilingual public education campaigns to explain who can file these orders and how the process works. This is an explicit attempt to encourage wider use of a law designed to temporarily strip individuals of their firearms without due process. They are actively seeking to empower individuals, regardless of their understanding of the Second Amendment, to initiate proceedings that could disarm lawful citizens. This isn't about safety. It's about casting a wider net for firearms confiscation. 2. Safe storage education. The order falsely asserts that firearms are the leading cause of death for children and young adults in America. This is a manufactured statistic, a blatant lie designed to fuel fear and justify government overreach. The Department of Public Safety and the Minnesota Department of Education are now instructed to produce and distribute materials on safe storage practices, including how to obtain locks and safes, often at low or no cost. These materials will be translated into multiple languages, including English, Spanish, Hmong, and Somali. While presented as an education campaign, this is a state-funded initiative to promote a specific narrative around firearms ownership. It's a calculated effort to normalize government intervention in how you store your property, setting the stage for future mandates that could criminalize responsible storage practices. Today, it is education. Tomorrow, it could be a law dictating how you secure your firearms in your own home. 3. Insurance data collection. This is perhaps the most insidious aspect of Executive Order 2512 and the one generating the most concern among legal experts and gun rights advocates. The Minnesota Department of Commerce is ordered to issue a data call to all homeowners insurance companies licensed in the state. These companies must submit detailed policy and claims data involving firearms, including the types of claims and the financial cost of guns to Minnesotans. By October 1, 2026, this data will be summarized and used to recommend changes to state law. This is not a liability law yet. It is an information-gathering step. But make no mistake, data collection is invariably the first step toward future regulation, taxation, and cost-based policy arguments designed to make firearms ownership financially prohibitive. This is a direct attack on your financial well-being as a firearms owner. They are trying to identify how to make owning a firearm so expensive that only the wealthiest can afford it, effectively disenfranchising everyday Americans. This creates a de facto gun tax through regulatory overreach. The immediate consequences of these executive orders are not direct bans, but they introduce new layers of liability and risk for lawful firearms owners. Increased risk of ERPOs. With expanded awareness and encouragement for filing red flag orders, you face an increased risk of having your firearms temporarily or permanently removed based on subjective claims, without due process, and without a criminal conviction. The system is being engineered to make it easier to disarm you, even without a trial. The burden of proof shifts, and you are presumed guilty until you prove your innocence, often at significant legal expense. This could lead to temporary confiscation, legal fees, and the permanent stigma of being deemed a risk. Financial burden. The insurance data collection is a direct threat to your financial solvency as a firearms owner. The state is compiling data to justify future regulations that could increase insurance premiums for homeowners who own firearms, mandate specific insurance coverages for firearms owners, adding significant costs, even potentially lead to insurance companies denying coverage to gun owners based on compiled risk profiles. This is a backdoor attempt to price you out of your Second Amendment rights, transforming a constitutional right into a privilege only for those who can afford exorbitant insurance rates. Administrative harassment. While not criminal, the increased focus on safe storage education could lead to future mandates that, if violated, could result in fines, confiscation, or even criminal charges. The state is building a narrative that suggests your current storage methods are inherently unsafe, setting the stage for future laws dictating how you must store your property. The Second Executive Order, 2513, establishes a statewide safety council to develop policy recommendations for lawmakers. This council, as critics note, is not required to include any Second Amendment advocates or gun owner representatives. This means it will be stacked with anti-gun activists whose sole purpose will be to generate recommendations for more restrictive gun laws. This is a bureaucracy designed to manufacture justification for future legislative attacks, circumventing open debate and democratic representation. The cost of this bureaucracy includes taxpayer dollars. Your tax dollars will fund this council and its anti-gun agenda. Erosion of representation. Your voice will be excluded from the very body tasked with recommending laws that directly affect you. Predetermined outcomes. The council's recommendations will be inherently biased against gun ownership, ensuring a continuous push for more restrictions. These executive orders are not isolated incidents. They represent a dangerous trend of executive overreach, where governors bypass the legislative process and public will to push their political agendas. This strategy is an assault on the core principles of our republic and a direct threat to the Second Amendment. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus rightly calls these orders low-impact political cover, designed to give the governor something to point to while he pushes his anti-gun agenda. But their low impact now does not diminish their long-term danger. They are planting seeds of future regulation and creating a bureaucratic framework that will be difficult to dismantle. This is a slow, methodical erosion of your rights, one executive order at a time. The goal is to make firearms ownership increasingly burdensome, expensive, and socially stigmatized, ultimately leading to widespread disarmament. This is a critical moment for firearms owners across the nation. What happens in Minnesota today could easily be replicated in your state tomorrow. These executive orders, while not outright bans, are strategic steps towards making firearms ownership financially punitive, administratively burdensome, and increasingly difficult to maintain. They are an attempt to disarm lawful citizens through bureaucratic means, rather than through constitutional legislative action. Stay vigilant, understand these threats, and act. Share this information with every patriotic American you know. Engage with your elected officials. Support organizations that fight for your Second Amendment rights. Do not allow government overreach to strip you of your constitutional protections. Your vigilance and action are the only defense against this insidious assault on liberty. Stay vigilant, stay prepared, stay armed, and stay free.